you wanted a bit of a shout out to all animal charities, or to people really, to try and support all animal charities, because they're struggling, aren't they, during COVID?
Absolutely. So, and this is not a guilt trip by any means, but the support and the financial support that a lot of these organisations rely on has been cut drastically. Understandably, people are out of work, they can't afford to give. But in the same sense, these charities can't afford to operate at the same capacity they once did. They've had to make cuts in regards to staff. They've had to make huge cuts in regards to their financial outgoings. And unfortunately, that means like slashes across the bottom line. So I just want people to consider that, and to just remember, if you can't get immediate help, it's not for lack of trying. It's because they purely can't.
Yeah, because it annoyed me on the wireless the other day. I was listening to the wireless, and the presenter was saying that they're hoping that the DIY industry is going to pick up quite quickly, because people now have all this money they haven't spent on holidays and things. And then the next article was the Save the Rhino Trust was going under because people weren't paying for that anymore. And I thought, well, actually, hang on. If people have saved so much money that they can now afford to buy huge amounts of paint, couldn't they have put a $5 in the Save the Rhino tub?
Yeah.
And so there's something else that's gone on, hasn't there, in this last year? And I think a lot of it is the sort of a chance meeting with a charity. So you're on the high street, you're just about to go into a shop, and there's someone holding this leaflet up in front of you saying, we want to save the binturong. Could you give us some money? Now, most people wouldn't come across that from the comfort of their own home. But if they're outside Waterstones, you might think, oh, I will save the binturong. I like those because they smell of popcorn. So that doesn't tend to happen at the moment so much, does it? And that's a big problem with charities. Actually, people aren't minded or mindful of charities because they're not going to places and seeing the banners, seeing these people shaking their pots and things.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's difficult because obviously you can't have those individuals out in the community for obvious reasons. COVID, you can't risk it. We've started to see there's a local, I think she's Dogs Trust, the local Dogs Trust lady at my Sainsbury's. Bless her, I was in my PDSA uniform and she was like, "You've got a minute?" And I was like, "I can give you money." "I've not got a minute. You can take the money, but please don't stop me, I'm too busy." And it's just, that's the reality of it. People are, I think, too busy, and the lack of it, you are losing out on a massive fundraising opportunity. So many fundraising events that were previously booked obviously haven't gone forward. And people don't want to know. And I think a great part of it is, and we're all guilty of it, people want everything straight away. They want the help, they want it quicker. They don't understand why it can't be sent out for things like, for one example, RSPCA. Unfortunately, they get a really difficult time in the media, and people just don't see what goes on behind the scenes. Sometimes they only have one inspector for like Essex in the east of London. That's a huge area.
Yeah. And as a vet, I'm constantly hearing from clients, I've stopped giving money to the RSPCA because they only spend it on uniforms. They don't do anything. But the RSPCA do a huge amount, and actually they are the only animal charity with legal powers to seize, arrest, and push sentences forward to animal wrongdoers, aren't they?
As in bring prosecutions?
Bring prosecutions, yeah, that's the word. That's the phrase I was looking for. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. And it's frustrating because they've got this, I don't know where these vicious rumours started from, but they're like, this is one of my major arcs, but they're like, I don't give money because they just, like, that's all they're bothered about is money. It's just a big money making game. And then in the same breath, it's like, they don't do anything for animals, they just put them to sleep. And it's like, well, what money do you think is there in dead animals? There's none. The two don't correlate. So it's just really difficult because they do so much work. They're wildly understaffed, underappreciated, and people kind of write them off because somebody's not available to come out and pick up the fledgling that fell down half an hour ago.
Absolutely. And I think in this culture, we're very much mindful of the negatives, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're very, very keen to pick people up on their faults rather than praise them for their attributes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And it's really sad. And just I think if they understood, if you said we literally are stretched to beyond breaking, if you could bring that animal to your local vet centre, not that we won't overwhelm any local vet centres at the moment, but legally they have to give first aid advice, and that first aid assistance could be the difference between that animal surviving, because it might just need warmth and a bit of nursing, and then the inspector comes and gets it at a point where they're not overwhelmed.
Absolutely. And I would say, as a vet in practice, I would say, please, Joe Public, bring any stray animals or animals you're worried about to the vet.
Yeah,